I think I do. We must all, if I have it.
Yeah.
I have a record button at the bottom, in the bottom version.
Mine's rolling now, so we should be all set. And then I can share it with Renato and
Yes.
everyone else.
But it would be easy for me to listen for my mistakes. I learn from my mistakes. That would be easy for me. And this is the second time that I'm doing the same presentation. The first one was last year in Paris. And I was with a group of visual anthropologists in Toulouse when I spent was the whole month there working with visual anthropology with students of Université Jean Jaurès in Toulouse. So present public is the first time. And I would like, if it's possible, I'm share the paper. That would be easy. You follow the paper instead to have the picture of a PowerPoint, because it would be easy for me in terms of communicate with you the main ideas of the grounds of this working paper. That is still working paper. It's a kind of a exploratory discussion. Okay. You think that I can share?
Yeah. It should work. Share screen should work.
Should work.
Yep.
Let's see. Okay. Oops. Oh, I think I need to put in the paper in a. Let me see if I can do the other way. Just a minute. I think it's going now. Oh. I can't see the maybe it's my problem here, because I can't see the file.
One option is you could email it to either Elliot or myself, and we could try to help get that up.
Yeah. Sorry about this.
No.
Okay, it's impossible for me to do that. Maybe I send to you the paper, to see if it's possible you to share.
Sure, let's try that.
How I can send to you, which...
Just reply to the email on the Zoom invitation.
Ah, okay. Sorry about, I'm not very familiar with this. Okay, I sent to you, Elliot.
Okay.
Okay, So as I said before, this is my second time in terms of give this talk for more people. And I'm very happy to do that because it seemed to be a very important issue today. And I'm very glad that Sbaka is here because last Tuesday, it was impossible to stay here with you and to discuss what's the presentation of Sbaka and Amalia, no? Amalia Cordova. And me and Amalia and Rodrigo, we are together organize a dossier in terms of indigenous cinema for a journal here in Brazil. And I invite you, maybe if you want to do and to present an article. Okay, did you receive it?
Not yet. I'm refreshing, but I haven't gotten anything yet. Chris, you didn't get anything, did you?
No.
Is your chat? You go to the chat.
For chat.
Okay.
Okay, just there is a map. If you put the map in the beginning, it'll be very good.
Okay, it's downloading now, so it should be just a minute.
I don't know how I was impossible to me to share my screen with you. I don't know what's happening. Maybe it's my mistake.
Yeah.
Okay.
We usually figure it out eventually.
Okay, the first thing that I would like to stress in this presentation, that we as anthropologists, and we do films, and I'm doing films and present my films and with indigenous people in terms of collaborative way with indigenous people, present the film, use the film, and most of the time use kind of what we say the idea of narrow casting. Most of the time we work for a very specific public and a very specific way. I use the idea of we are produce films or documentary films, all kind of visual production, but always is in a very specific group. It's very difficult for us to go out of the narrow cast or to go to the broadcast, because to be the broadcast, you need to have different methods or different approach in terms of the production, the material that we produce, the material that you have used. One thing that's important also say that the material that you have been work most of the time, most of the time, we work in a joint project with the indigenous people. In this case of the two films that I use in terms of make the presentation, this presentation, one film called Procurando Sono, Seek for the Sleep. That was made in 2011 and 2012. That was in a place called Tunui. Tunui is in the Isana River. Okay, I don't know if you can see my mouse when I use it. Isana River is up. Okay, that's okay. It's there. The Isana is a place called Tunui. Why I decided to go to Tunui? Because in 2011. I had infarctus, a stroke, a health stroke. No? That's the same. And it was impossible to me to travel back to the Hupna because there is no particular kind of system of emergency. And Tunui have a army post of frontier, and it was easy. And my doctor say, look, if there is an armed post and they have some kind of emergency, you can go, but if not, you stay here. So, the idea, and I went there, and all my field work was for 2011 until 2017, and no, I stayed there last year, 2019. I was Tunui the main place. So I have been working with the students there, from two big groups, the Kuripak and the Baniwa. Okay, the language is more or less the same. You know, they say, well, I speak Kuripak, and the Baniwa say I'm speaking Baniwa, and there are some big difference, but most of the time they can work together, and they use sometimes the Baniwa as a general language for understand. My work with them was most of the time between speaking Portuguese and work with them. The first group was, I think was 17 people, 17, all of them, all the 70 are teachers, school teachers in the whole Isana River, okay? I have been working with a school teacher for the whole month. And the second group, that was the other film that we call Defendendo Nossos Saberes, Fight for Our Knowledge, was made with a small group, was only 12 of Baniwa and Kuripak that stayed in 2016 and 2017 in this area, and you have been working with them. Then I explained all the methods that you have been working with, and you can go to see the two films later on, and you can, because I sent it to Elliot, the link for the film that is in YouTube, and you can see what's happened. Today, that's the third thing that's important to say. I did this film there, and we edit together, but today the film is, okay, I have a copy, I put in a copy on my YouTube channel, but who use today the film are all the school teacher. In the school teacher, they still use the film, and they have the property, you could say, they belongs to them, the film, don't they use as they want to use. So sometimes they ask me, look, I lost my pen drive. Could you please send me again a copy, because I need a copy to present to my students. You know? So the film is still used, not outside the Isana River, but in the school that they use to work in the whole area, okay? Basically in the Isana and the Ayari, basically, and the Kuripaku and the Baniwa. We have some issue, very important is if you needed to do the subtitles in Portuguese or not. That was a big discussion, because most of them, we don't need to put subtitles in Portuguese, because these films will be used here, and that's not, it's not made for the people who live outside of this area. So that was very clear for them, that the film was made for themselves and to use for themselves, okay? And in terms of to have or not the subtitles, that was a big problem. And in the film, Seeking for the Sleep was the first film. I did the subtitle. I did the subtitle, I think 4 years or 5 years later, because it was demanding was in demand here in Recife to do the subtitle. Okay, so this is the main context of the production. Okay, the context of how to do and the production of the film, and was a lot discussion and a lot. I'm telling you more about this. Okay, that was in terms of narrowcasting. Now I would like to show you some context, social context, and then I ask Elliot if you can push to the up there. Okay, just there. Got to highlight the terms of how to transfer. That's the main question that you need to address here. How to transfer in terms of a visual production, something that comes all the times in terms of oral tradition, is real old, or a myth that was the people know, and they know there is some order to play the myths in terms of the village, normally as someone who is speaking and someone who listens, and they ask the question, and then come the second party. That's kind of very, very interesting word in terms of the oral tradition. So for us, when I work with film, that's become something, what should we do in terms of to have a tool of transform mythological stories into, I use the word imagery narrative, or to pass it to a kind of audiovisual. That is a big problem sometimes. And that was in the first film, the Seeking for the Sleep, that was really, really difficult in terms of how to transfer a myth of the creation of the night into a visual production, into a film. How you do that? There's a lot of discussion to do that. Was the first time that they decided to use this idea of the story of the creation of the night, and to become a story for them, because they are. Okay, well, in terms of the context, the social context, I put some ideas here. Just you can go up, Elliot, just a little bit, and stop where is the highlight. What's this? Highlight the line in red. Okay, okay. All the context in terms of hierarchical situation, the relation of the clans, and all the network of the kingship network in this social organization, and Janet know very well, and how the things works there. And you know, because sometimes you have been studied some specific things in terms of that. But I would like to know one thing that is important, and that I learned from them at this time, okay? What I learned, that the knowledge, or the specific knowledge, belongs to each clan. We can share the knowledge. It's a little bit different if it's more or less the same among the Hupda, because our knowledge is kind of a part of a clan. Okay, when you do the production or film production, and you put together the idea, or one idea that is part of a clan, of a group, or a specific group, or knowledge very specific, and you can transform that in a visual production, you need to do some decision. And this decision make is not, well, in terms of my way how I work, always transfer this decision to the group. Okay, you can put this or you can put this. How you need to do? Okay, that was one way how you work with in terms of collaborative way. But in this region, if you see, today is more easy. But if you look 10 years ago, where to organize a film production in terms of about the myths, the creation of the night and putting the visual production, that's not quite easy. Even for them, because they can't visualize the final product. Okay, me and the other, we can visualize the final product. But for the school kids that I have been working with, that was very difficult to visualize the end of the product. So that was a very important discussion in terms of how we decide to choose which version of the myth we decide. And at that time, when in terms of the work of production of this film, Seeking for the Sleeping is the title of the film, Seek for the Sleeping, I discovered among the Curipaco and the Baniwa, they have 18 different versions of this myth, okay? Of course, if each clan has some idea or some phenomena very specific for the clan, becomes a version. That was how to decide in terms to make a production of this idea, to make a film about the myths of the creation of the myth among the people who are sitting all together, say, look, there is different version. So that was interesting in terms, because we decided to go and to do this production. And we decided also to discuss how we choose a very version that would be easy for understand and also to have the same understand for everybody. So that was a long time to work into discussion to make a kind of a scenario, which part and which that was made all together, and was also discussion in terms of which of the other. That was this kind of chain in terms of the sequence was really in terms of a kind of a negotiation between the clans Curipaco and the clans Baniwa together and say, you go for this version, okay? So the version of the creation of the night that we film is a composed version for different situations. That was important to say, because if you look to the film, maybe have some difference between the other version that you can see. Okay, that is a very important and was a issue that we needed to be aware when you work with this kind of thing, to use the camera, but what you put inside the camera to show to the people, to show to the public. That was a very nice discussion, because if you have film, all the discussion, that would be very, very interesting, because the people was there in terms of the discussion. But I decided not to film the discussion, because only the discussion that would be a very nice film, for us anthropologists, because we have different point of view, how the nights become a night, how the empirically it become it's a very interesting thing in terms of okay, but I decided not to film because it was easy to do that. Was the same. The second film is the title is Fighting for Our Knowledge. That's the title is not me. They give the title. And the story of the second film was composed among the Baniwa and the Curipaco. And the same thing, we try to organize all the sequence in terms to be easy to understand for everybody. And that was important for them to organize that. And I tell you now, and what was really important. Do you know, Janet knows very well, and in terms of village, Curipaco in the Baniwa village, in the Ayari River and the Isana River, they have a Catholic and evangelical, Catholic and evangelical, Catholic and evangelical village. It's more or less like that, okay? So among the school teachers that have been working with me, I have both Catholic and evangelical, okay? And was very difficult in terms to understand the myths, because many of the village, of evangelical village, is a kind of forbidden to listen to the old story or to have this kind of, that was really not a fight, but was an important discourse. But what's interesting, in terms of knowledge, in this case, knowledge about how to healing a bite of a snake. That was the main discussion of the second film, Fight for Our Knowledge. Was the story about a bite of a snake and how we need to treat this bite or this snake and that was interesting, because all the evangelical people, they came together with the discourse, yes, we needed to do a film that will show to the people, not to the people in São Gabriel da Cachoeira or in Recife or in Maryland, no, to show to the people there the knowledge that they have in terms of healing a bite of a snake bite was more important to have the scientific way that they know how to do than the whites or the people from the health service, because the people from the health service, they don't know enough about the knowledge. It's very important knowledge. Don't fight to our knowledge, also fight to our knowledge inside the Baniwa and the Curipaco area, because the evangelical was against this kind of knowledge. This is not possible. You need to change the knowledge. That is not possible. That is a kind of superstition. You need to find the other way. But they decide all together, evangelical school teacher and the Catholic school teacher, that they need to put together in this film what is the real knowledge of Baniwa and the Curipaco, how the healing snake or bite of snake. Okay, I'm telling you in terms of the construction of the film, because this was important in terms of to have in terms of the work, okay, to build each of the sequence and the words of each sequence was also together what we speak now. Okay, this film is still all the time in Baniwa, because it's more for the Baniwa and the Curipaco people from the others. So, by the end, a person who is a bite for a snake, they are finished to be healing by the shamanistic practice from the Baniwa and the Curipaco, not from the posto de saúde, from the health station. That was interesting. That's the end. There is a final happy end in terms of our knowledge is more important than the other knowledge. You know, so this and was the first time that the film in that area used a specific example to show that the medicine, the traditional medicine, is more important the area in the use. That was the main idea. If you go to see the film, you go to see that in terms of the idea. Okay, maybe to make the film with Curipaco and Banil and to participate together in terms of the production is not really easy in terms to do everything together. For me, it was okay because I know more or less the way how the rationality of the Banil and how they discussion and how they are that is important. If was a person who does not know much about the region and they have never been there, I think it would be very difficult to understand how the interaction in terms of how to have a discussion and how to have a conclusion of a decision make that was to make some decision in terms of how to do the film. Okay, I'm using some text or some quotes of the anthropologists that you know. I can't use the order that more today, but I use some Brandão. I use also Gates. I use some quotation that was interesting because when I prepared this paper, I used to use for the undergraduation student in anthropology. Okay, you can move up. Okay, stop there. Now this is a section that I used to discuss in terms of indigenous cinema and the ethnofiction and the global indigenous media. Okay, that's kind of categories, analytical categories in terms of how to classify this kind of film. How you classify it? Is an indigenous film? Is an ethnofiction? Is a global indigenous media? That's the terms that we have today in the main in the discourse of visual anthropology, or in terms of in Australia, in Canada, even in the States. In the States, they have very specific idea what is the native films. You know, there is in terms of Brazil. I'm speaking in terms of the Brazil. The idea of cinema indígena or filme indígena is a trick, because someone who just have put indigenous people in the film, that's become a cinema indígena, okay? And that I in terms of this paper, say no, it's not a cinema indígena. That is a documentary made for X person, and say that they have used the indigenous people, but it's not a cinema indígena. In terms of the main idea is the cinema indígena, the ethnofiction, is the story, and the context is also discussion, is a result of a discussion with the indigenous people and their story. It's not my story, but it's their story. And my role there is only to have, because I have the camera and there's something, and I do, but it's not my film. You know, it's their film, and it's the way how the concept. That is a cinema indígena. All the discussion, all the scripts was organized by a whole of people, and all the actors, because they are actors. The stories, the performances, they perform the stories. All the actors are Banil and Curipaco. Okay, so in terms of this kind of thing, I know here in Brazil I have some discussion about what's the cinema indígena, what's not cinema indígena, what is ethnofiction, what is global indigenous media. You know, that's the name that you have been used in different places for different products in terms of work with indigenous people. Okay, that's I put this in the paper just to have some idea. There is no consensus in terms of define what is a indigenous film. Maybe Baca and Amalia, they talked to you last week, more or less in terms of this discussion, but I'm very happy to know more. And what's this? Okay, but I'm telling more about in terms of Brazil, because Brazil have many indigenous groups. There are a lot of production of indigenous media, and also they have, I have been working with here with Pancararu, and with the Pancararu, they, I did 4 years ago a little research in the Pancararu area, and I collect there. That time, I think there is a problem. Let me stop this, my WhatsApp thing, Simon. It's become very noisy. Sorry about. I'm just stop this. And when I was in the Pancararu area, Pancararu is here in the sertão of Pernambuco, and I put together 38 films made by the Pancararu for the Pancararu. Okay, so there are a big production in terms of film in different areas. I'm speaking now only the Pancararu, but I can speak the other place, or the Pitaguari in the Ceará. As you will know, the people from the Ceará, I can show them some films made by the Pitaguari near to Fortaleza, and how they use the film, how they use the camera, how the production, how they have it. We have now in Brazil many indigenous groups that have their own production and how they use the film. Okay, that is a very interesting, but still the confusion for me, at least, have some confusion in terms how to use this term, cinema indigenous. Okay, but I believe that and put in the paper because it's a part of the discussion, and it's different. For example, in Australia. In Australia, by the 90s, the beginning of the 90s, was a big discussion in the Australian production to make a production of the television, indigenous television channel, Aboriginal channel in Australia. That was also in terms of, more or less in terms of the discussion that I put here and what's the idea, what can go. Okay, let's see, move up. Thanks, Elliot, for this. Okay, that's the whole discussion. And I just to point one thing that was interesting to you, and you need, and I think we need to revisit the Navajo films that was made in the 60s. But I think was the first time that the indigenous people produced themselves. That was in the 60s, and they have a lot of work, and many people have been discussed. But I need to look back today, as we have now the accumulative work or discussion in terms of visual anthropology, to see the work of the first Navajo films that was produced in the 60s, and how maybe one thing that I would like to do in terms of to see these films today with my regard, what I can see do. There is many productions that I put here just because I say what we do in São Gabriel da Cachoeira, or we do in Tunuí, is start more than 50 years in terms of the Navajo people. If you look as a kind of a paradigm in terms of the film, indigenous film. But also, I can take one film that was really interesting film made by Curtis in 1909. I don't know if you came across with this film. In 1909, Curtis in the States make a big production with indigenous people, and is the Hunt of the Heads. If you look to, there is in YouTube. Hunt of the Heads is a film made in 1909 by Edward Curtis, with indigenous people in the States about what we can call, what we can denominate as kind of ethnofiction, you know, but it was a fiction and was made, and also they are used as actors. The indigenous people was acting themselves, you know, they acting themselves in terms of the film, okay? Well, let's go. Sorry, I just ask now, how many time I have for, you looked for the time, Janet or Elliot?
Yeah, you have plenty of time, don't worry. Okay. We usually meet until 5, but sometimes we go over.
Okay, I'm just going, because it's very important in terms of, just up, just a little bit up. Okay, now, okay. I use the quote of Gates, in terms of point of view, the discourse about point of view, and discourse about perspective. I could use the other author, but this is okay in terms of the main idea, in terms of to use the what is point of view in terms of the perspective and the in terms of perspective, in terms of Banil and the Curipacu, that was both together and say like this is Banil and Curipacu film, you know, but was the perspective of the school teacher that was a school teacher, Banil and Curipacu school teachers that give the perspective of the film. And I'm telling you now in terms of how we have make a part of the production, but just so you know how we go. That was important thing because somehow when you see the film today, and when I look to the film today, I see the other things that at the time that we made the film, that wasn't in my head. But now I can see something that was really interesting in terms of the production of the film Seeking for the Sleep. That is very interesting in terms of how you look to the perspective and how this perspective, the point of view of Banil and Curipacu is appear in the gesture, and the manner how to speak, the manner how to do, and the manner how to use, for example, the maracá, you know, that's
rattle.
Thanks, Janet. This is we can see exactly in terms of the gest. We can see Banil and Curipacu, the user, and they can see that is Banil and that's Curipacu. If they are put in different clothes and different things, that is impossible to see who is who. Okay. The other thing, if you can put up to the go, is that okay. Put. Okay, stop it. Okay. Now I see that I made the translation seek for the sleep. For the procurando. In Brazilian, is procurando sono. It's in the gerúndio. It's not in the. It's procurando sono. It's not. It's a little bit different. Seeking for the sleep. Okay. The other thing is in terms of to use as a script, a myth was a myth story about the creation of the night, and there are many animals in this story, many animals. Okay, so they are all together with a human. So they perform together, human and animals together, and they speak between them. They speak between them, and that is also, we can show in the film, the relation and the whole relation with a human, no human, and the birds, and all the kind of animals, and the human, okay? But the human that appear in the myth is not really a human, because it's a two brothers, Nyam Periculi, right? It's on together in terms of to seek the night and take the night to the village. That is a big story in terms of there's many episodes, and how to do that in 25 minutes or 26 minutes is not easy, because you need to put the sequence very well in terms of, but they did very well. They did very well in terms to put all the sequence and how to put this sequence to be understandable for the people who listen. And normally, a boy or a girl have listened, they know the story, so they can listen before. So they have an image about the story in their head. When they have some image, okay? But when they see the film, they see all the image. Maybe it's not the same image, but somehow could be a very interesting point of discussion in terms of how the birds appear in the film, and how the birds appear in terms of memory of the people who is trying to see, because all the stories have some image. There's a lot of image for the people who is only in terms of oral traditional way. They produce the image in their head. They exchange those image among them. But the film gives to them another perspective, another way to the image. It's an image that's come from a decision maker in terms of who we show the birds in this narrative. You know, this is very interesting when I have a discussion in terms of to see what they think about how the birds appear and how the birds appear in the image. It is okay, and how sometimes now becoming a different, very specific and different way how to see this image. Okay. The other point, I use the word dramatization and the performance, because it's kind of course, we have the script, we did the script, and we make the people who is perform the bird, who perform Nyampirikuli, who perform the Nawa, who perform the other animals. Each one have some role to do, okay? And it was a discussion. And to do I had also 2 cameras in terms of, just because the people want to know how we did together. I have 2 cameras. Me and my colleague had 2 cameras to use the camera. It was really difficult to make this film, to do this film, was really difficult because Tunui is a place, it's impossible to be hide there. It's impossible to have to be completely different, because everybody wants to see what you're doing. Everybody wants to see. And then when you start to make the performance of the creation of the night, everybody was there and tried to laugh and tried to criticize and tried to say, no, it's not correct. And everybody was there. It was impossible to film. And I decided, look, we need to go to the other place and ask to the people not to come. And I used to film in a part of the river and put the other people completely far, not completely far, but far, and ask someone with very big authority to say, look, not, you know, because it was really difficult to do the film, to do all the script. We see also a lot of noise around. It was also have no. That was kind of difficult in terms of when you to do this in the village. We need to be aware because everybody wants to participate and everybody wants to do their point of view about it, and they criticize always everything, and that's not good, that's good, that's not good, and that is in terms of the whole village, and the whole village know that we are trying to do. Was the same when I did the fighting for the knowledge, and when I did seeking for the sleep, it was the same. Everybody knows, and that was one thing that I did. I used my final cut, my final in terms of edition. I edit in there. I not came with the film to village, then back again to with the we have the editing suite there, and everybody also participate in terms of which image which image comes after or comes. That is also a very nice exercise in terms just give to them the idea and they use, because they say today that is our film, and they can put this film in different school and have a discussion with the people. So they can also explain to them how the film was made, and that is very interesting. So both films fight for the knowledge and seek for the sleep. You use a drama, you use a big performance, and to film the performance and to do the film. You know, the film is a sequence of performance and put together, and with that was the way that was easy to do, and the way that they like. Most of the time, they like do that. That was really interesting to do this way. And that there are some problems in terms of how to keep the people together, because everybody wants to attend. Everybody wants to give an opinion. Everybody wants to say, look, that needs to be very aware of that and how to look to this participation kind of thing in terms of participatory video production, film production. Okay, Stuart, Elliot, thanks again. I told before in terms of gesture, in terms of word, and the scenery, and we can see how they put themselves and how some gesture, the way how they use the hands, and how the way that's give some signal that is important for them to use this way. You can see the film sometimes when they use when they go to the night and they need to wake up the night. The way how they wake up the night is a very important kind of gestuality, because it's the gestuality of the shaman, a gestuality of the people who is healing, the gestuality the kind of thing that you can see in the image, you can see how they use that and how they incorporate the way how they use, okay? Okay, that is in terms of important to see in terms of the film sequence. That is when you have the sequence, you need to keep very, very close to there in terms of not to change in terms of to use them. Well, then the next topic is about film and the performance. Maybe I repeat something, but it's important to say that the performance was only, of course, developed to make the film, but was possible in terms of to organize, because we have before organized the narrative before and put the sequence. That was how to put all together. That was, we realized that this kind of thing was to work with in terms of participatory way. It's not easy at the same time, but was very nice because everybody's put together. They want to have a consensus in terms of the sequence, in terms of to look to decide which kind of the performance they can do. Of course, that's become a little bit different because we changed and completed that one story that is always oral transmitted, past the father to son is for the oral way to do, and how now there are a film that show how the nights or the day and nights become in the village. That is a kind of to use the okay. There is a lot of things that's important, but I think it was the most important was the last. You can up the thing. This one here. Okay, stop there. Okay. In terms of the camera, that's I think is important because, of course, in terms of doing a film, a sequence of a performance, a sequence of drama, we need to know which place you need to have the camera, which part we need to stress. This kind of things we needed to discuss before, because we lose the most important passage if they want. So in terms of put the camera, what film, and to see, because the frame of the camera is short in terms of time. So we need to see what's exactly we want to show and how you want to show, okay? That's kind of direction, the direct orientation. We need also to discuss in terms of how to use the camera and how to have this performance for the people that you want, what they want to represent themselves, how they want to represent, how they want to be appear in the film. Of course, some of the time we look most of the time in the screen to see if it's okay, if it's not okay. If it's not okay, we repeat again the sequence and you do again the sequence. So some of the sequence was did 2 or 3 times in the production. Okay. Okay, that's about the audience. I speak already. I think it's the main thing, the main important thing. I think I put for you now. And there is another section of the paper that's about the anthropological production. And there are one thing that's important in terms of that's we can also discuss and what to use this kind of methodology in terms of collected data or in terms of the research about, yes, of course, today I can use this film for me, for myself, to understand how, for example, how they operate and how they use to talk among the animals, and that is interesting after the production, because most of my discussion about these animals and no-animals and the things comes afterwards. That, yes, of course, for me, it's easy to make to produce a discussion about the relation. But this is in terms of to use camera or to use this kind of production in terms of collect data for you research and how to do that. That is, I don't know. That is, for me, I'm not clear if it is okay. Because to organize a kind of this products is not easy to organize. It's a lot of time. Okay, I spend 1 month there, and over 1 month we did everything, but it was so many time consuming and so many discussions to do. And in terms of to use this kind of work or to use these methods, in terms of collect data, I'm not sure if it is okay, but it's a kind of, we can put in the discussion and to see how this kind of collaborative work and collaboration can be part of inform or not inform. Of course, in terms of the whole production, I learn a lot in terms of the discussion. They give to me a lot. For example, to say today that they have 18 way or 18 version of the story of this myth. It's not come from myself, that was from them. When they analyze, they put to you a different version of the myths of the creation of the night, you know? So that's okay. We can do that, and we can discussion to see if to give us as anthropologists to understand how they operate in terms of this thing. That is one point that I'm just stress here, not only to have a conclusion, because for me, I have no conclusion yet in terms of, but it's a way to make a discussion. I don't know if I think it was the last point. I don't know, Elliot, if you have another. Okay, that's some scenes of the film. That is the scenes of Seeking for the Night. And that's the most important personage. That's Nyampirikuli Kawai. And the others on the other, so the animals, that the birds, you know, and all the costumes was made there. We did it together, the costume. And you can see how the costume was made by them, and to represent the birds and the animals and all the people. Okay, just put that just to show you the reference that I used, and there's some very interesting reference that after you can share this. Okay, this paper is still very exploratory. It's not finished yet. As I told you, it's the second time that I present public this version of this discussion. That one thing that I'm still working to have a very, very good presentation on this, this kind of. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry if it's not very, very good, but because the English is not my second, even the third, I think English is my fourth language. And I think it was a little bit for communicate with you. I think it's okay. And many thanks for your patience and to be here.
Thank you very much. I'm sure there are comments. Is Elliot, you there? Do you want to open
Yes.
question?
So we can take a moment to gather questions and thoughts, and I either send me a message or just wave a hand on your video, and we can take turns opening up to a dialogue. I can ask a first question, and I was wondering. I thought the emphasis on making films for an audience that was not in the city, not reading Portuguese subtitles, and that emphasis is highly compelling as a kind of way of defining Indigenous cinema, kind of around audience. But I was wondering, I was wondering how that type of film production connected to kind of slightly or different types of political uses of film, specifically to communicate to a government audience or an international kind of media audience, say around environmental films, working for land rights, working against large-scale development projects. I was wondering if you think these are two kind of distinct types of Indigenous film practice, or if they're kind of overlapping potentially.
Okay, I think there is some overlapping, but the second film, fighting for our knowledge, I know, but I wasn't there. I know that they have been used in the health conference in São Gabriel da Cachoeira to explain to the health work, the people who comes from Manaus to the other place. Look, we have here in our place, we have medicine that can heal all snake bites, etc., etc. You know, and they used that. Of course, that not only for the Baniwa, but they use the film to show to the health works or from the people from the Distrito Sanitário Especial Indigenous how they healing also. Okay, there is some overlapping, but also they can use when they. Of course, this second film is easy to use in terms of, because it's very specific in terms of fighting for our knowledge. And you have a knowledge, and you know, and I needed to have this knowledge. And they change all the protocol in terms of healing snakes bites, because snake. When we decided to do the film, we go to what's the main cause of the death here in this area is snakes. The people die from the snakes, that the whole area, which is important thing, but they know how to heal it. But the way how it's treating or how the health work is doing in terms of to have the service for them when they are fighting for the snake is not very good. And that was fighting for the knowledge. They want to have fight. That was interesting because healing snake bites was the common point in terms to make evangelicals and the Catholic together, and they are agreed that it's important to have this kind of knowledge, okay? In those to show to the village, you know? That was important in terms of use. But the other film, the first one, is, I think you are right, you know, it's very difficult to make a big audience. That's important for us anthropologists, because you can see a lot of things inside of the film that you can have a discussion in terms of anthropological issues that you can see in terms of, but there is no, it's not advocative, let's say, advocate. The video is not advocate for them. That was nice to do together, and was the first experience in terms of to do the whole collaborative process in the village. And I left the village, the film stayed there. I came just a little copy for me in my pen drive, the copy of the film, but it was, the film is still there.
Thanks.
Thanks for the question. That is important. Your question is very important.
I see a hand from Janet.
Did you also, well, what else did you leave behind? Is there a sort of center there? Is there an archive there? Do they have access to their own filmmaking equipment, or will this be a very long-term project?
No, from the first film, I left everything there, even the camera, I left there with them. I not take the camera, a camera stay. I take, from the first film, I take only a pen drive, final cut version of the film. For me, it's impossible to do again the film because I have no how to do it. It's impossible. I have no the project. They have the project there, and the camera was there, and all the clips for the film they stay with them. I take nothing, only a copy for me as the copies that you have there, that the copy that you can see in the link in my YouTube channel. Okay, but the second film, I have all the sequence with me. I took with me the whole sequence, all the clips, because we made the first version there, and they have the first version. Then I give to the foreign the second version, and the people on the foreign just made the third version because they wanted to show a very short way the film to the Distrito Sanitário Indígena. So they use a lot. The second film was used a lot in terms of advocate that our knowledge is important for us, and you need to respect our knowledge. If you see to this, all the sequence of the film, in the moments the patient said, we don't want to have here. And the health worker say, look, you need to sign a paper here if you want to go back to your village. And they sign the paper and they go back to the village. You know, and the process of is in the film. Okay, and they are more in terms of advocate, in terms of how they want to represent themselves as some people who has knowledge and important knowledge, and this is way how they feel and the way how they decide to keep in the whole scenario. Okay, and that's the way. One thing that I would like to say to you, that's coming later. I finished 2012. The first film was finished already. Was I don't know. I was finished. But in 2013, I received a paper for a school teacher from the village, not from the Tumui, from the other village, near to Pamali village, Karuru Lake. And she sent to me a dialogue in Baniwa, a dialogue, the whole film. Okay, I use this dialogue to put the Baniwa subtitles in the film because some was difficult because was. But what she sent to me along the subtitles, the dialogue. She sent to me a draw. She draw to make the image in paper with just one color, and she draw in a paper. And I have this text in Baniwa, drawn by a school teacher, and that what she saw about the film. That's interesting because when you look to the dialogue in this paper, in this, we can see the other thing that is not in the film, but she put in the side. She complete, or she said needs to complete to maybe that version that she likes the version. She put something that she wants to make more. So I have the whole film, the dialogue of the film put together in Baniwa and in Brazilian, the discussion, and also withdrawal that was a school teacher that sent to me. She sent to me, and I still have this copy. But she was so happy because the people from the school like a lot the film to see. You know? They have a lot of discussion there in terms of, and that make me a little bit happy to see also.
That's fascinating. Thank you.
Sid, you had a question?
And I don't know if I put all the questions, I replied to you right away, Janet.
Well, we'll come back to it. I think others have questions or comments.
Sid, I saw your hand. Go ahead.
Okay, let me just say this. Renato, you said you left a camera there. Are they making their own films?
I know that they made some film, but we don't know because I think some months the camera went to the down the river.
Now, the reason I ask is I have a friend in Sao Paulo who works with the Guarani Dourados, and she has left cameras and material, and the youngsters are making their own films.
Yes.
And I think this would make an interesting contrast. I think that your materials are even more interesting because of the unique situation going on in Dourados. But I'd be fascinated to see what kind of movies they would make.
Yeah, yes, you can see, because some people from Dourados, I know the people who doing films in Dourados, and they have a YouTube channel. You can see the film. Yes.
Yeah.
That's very nice. And that is very fight film. They fight. They very, very film that is the Guarani Kaiowá. They are in the political and economic situations, the worst situation that, and they do not only in the film, but also in terms of the music.
Yeah.
They have a group of music called Bro, that's interesting. And also there is a group of women that, the singers, very nice, but it's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Dourados and around Dourados. I use sometimes the music.
Okay.
I have a news alert. May I interrupt for a moment?
Sure.
I just received this piece of paper. It says Kamala Harris.
Oh, she's the vice presidential nominee.
That's what it must be. Yeah.
Must be. All right.
Yeah.
Well, when we finish here, I'll go find out.
But I also wanted to say that Emily Colon is here, who works among the Kayapo, and is somewhat involved with a similar project where the Kayapo make their own films.
Yes. Yes.
But if she's here, let her step in.
Also, Glenn.
Lunch when you said that.
Also, Glenn, when we came here a few weeks ago here, he speak about Bepunu. Bepunu is a Kayapo on the camera. He did a lot of film too.
Yeah, I don't think Glenn is here today, is he?
No.
I don't think so, but Emily is, isn't she?
Yes, she is there. I'm very happy to hear.
Oh, really? Here, let me see if I can fix this. Or I'll just get closer. Yeah, so Bepanu's been doing this for what, a while. It's been almost a decade or so. It's been a long time. I mean, we all know that the Kayapo have appropriated video since the 80s. So it's been a while, but I think one of the really neat things with a lot of these media projects, specifically within the Kayapo villages and Videos nas Aldeias, is the capacity building too. So that's a huge thing where it's not just, you know, leaving things for them to be able to watch or to use, but it's really teaching them how to use these things, and a lot of times in their own terms.
Yes.
So I'm always just so impressed whenever we come back and they've done more than like I mean, I'm not good at this, but I'm just always very impressed with what they know how to do and what they've figured out and how they're using it. Yeah, Amalia. She's worked with filmmakers as well.
Yeah.
Oi, Renato, prazer te ver.
Oh, Patty, how are you?
Good. You know, we're co-editing a dossier, but we've never met.
Great opportunity.
Yeah, it's wonderful to meet you. So I am being approached by a bunch of different, you know, NGOs wanting to come in and work with Amazonian indigenous media projects. And I try to scale down the expectations and tell them, you know, it's a region crisscrossed by 9 countries, right, essentially.
Yes, of course.
And I mentioned to them that, you know, they want to pick my brain about things. And I said, well, first of all, I don't have a grasp on all of it, and there's not a single article, to my knowledge, that even talks about all of indigenous media in the Amazon region.
Yes.
And no overarching indigenous media in Brazil, although it's starting, I think, there's starting to be an interest and people feel like it's finally necessary, right? So there's kind of, you know, we're all in the weeds, we're all kind of grounded in certain specific communities, and I'm trying to do more, you know, comparative and transnational, but it is very challenging to not make over generalizations, and you want to respect that cultural specificity. So I'm waiting for somebody to write that article so that I can just email it to these people. Understand that they have no idea what they're getting into, right? Because even when I asked Bep, I said to Bep when we brought him, so have you seen films from other indigenous communities? And he said, yeah, I've seen other Kayapo films from other Kayapo villages.
Yes.
And that already was like this whopping universe of variety, right? So never mind, you know, how they could cross over into, you know, Andean or Southern Andes or Mesoamerican, Central American, or even Caribbean. I guided one of the Ashaninka video makers of Videos nas Aldeias, Huevito, through an exhibit on the Arawak and the Taino that we had at NMAI. And it was so astounding to find him explaining back to me what stuff was used for, because he was so familiar with it, and also even establishing linguistic relationships. So I've seen the need for this more, you know, inter-indigenous communication, and
yes, of course, sure.
What kind of exposure this community has to other indigenous films.
Yes, that's we did last year in Belém, in the north of Brazil, a round table with indigenous people and the anthropologists discuss about filmmaking. That was interesting, but still, I think you're right. You still have some discussion in terms of not only in terms about the production, but in terms of how to use. But what was for me the most interesting experience that I did, I published the text, the article I published in a review, in a journal in New Zealand about the confront of the Pancararu and the Martu. Martu is a very big ethnic group in the center of Australia, and the Martu and the Pancararu. And the project was really nice because came here in Recife. They came for our festival. We have every 2 years now, every 2 years we have a festival, international film, ethnographic film of Recife Festival. And for this festival in 2015, Curtis Taylor is the director, Martu from Australia, came to stay here in Pernambuco. And we spent together in the Pancararu village. And they have been working with the other indigenous people there in Pancararu and do a film together and also to discuss things. That was interesting because the Curtis Taylor, he came from Australia only with his language, Martu language and the English, and he spent nearly a month here, no Portuguese at all, but they have been all the time with the Pancararu. They speak together, I don't know which kind of language they use to understand each other. But was until now, the Pancararu, when they saw me, Renato, where's the Curtis? Curtis needs to come back again because we need to see Curtis. And Curtis in Australia. And they did a lot of experience in terms of production and also exchange in terms of knowledge, how to do. That was, for me, was a very nice experience. Maybe I can share to you the article that I wrote about this experience.
I would love that. Thank you. Obrigada.
Okay. Nice to see you, Amalia.
Nice to see you too.
Can I just insert one comment here? And the comment is Laura Graham's Owners of the Water, where she brings together David Hernandez from northern Venezuela and brings him to the Chavanchi area where he works with Chavanchi filmmakers.
Yes, with Divino.
Yeah. Divino.
And Laura, she came here in Recife. And for the festival, the Ethnographic Film Festival, was very important to have Laurie here because she saw the other things interesting in terms of indigenous production here.
The other thing that I think is so useful about Owners of the Water is that Laura has a number of video resources online that one can use where she discusses at length the making of the film.
Yes.
And I think Hiptiro participates. I'm not remembering well.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's very, very interesting.
Jose, and then
say goodbye to you people.
Oh,
I have to say goodbye to everybody because I have another appointment coming up. Thank you very much, Renato.
Thank you too. If you want, I can send to you something about the Pitagori.
Yes. Okay, we're going to have to exchange about that. Okay.
Thank you.
thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Jose, you had a question.
Well, what's more like a comment in the same direction that Amelia and Renato were talking. There is a nice example of different people from different indigenous groups working together in video production. I don't know if you're aware of this group in the Caribbean that's called Yosokowi. There are 4 different groups in the Sierra. Aruacos, Kogis. That's a shame that Graham is not here, since Graham worked with the Kogis before. So it's Kogi, is Aruaco, is Wiwa, and Canquamo. That's 4 of them. They are like a Chibcha language, but they're completely different groups, and they work together in an indigenous production enterprise.
Great.
They have one head that's Amado Villafana, who have traveled the world. He has been in Germany. He usually work with Paulo Mora, that's a Colombian. I think he's an anthropologist as well.
Yes,
but they have nice stuff. I worked with them in one of the production in 2015. But what is really great is that, I mean, the 4 groups, they have like a kind of a same cosmology system, so it's easy to navigate between the myths and between the cosmology and between the perspectives that they have. But also Amado is always trying to make a point of what the Sierra wants to talk to the people. So it's more, it's of course the audience is more like like the white people, but it's in a nice language. It's always in native language. It's always in Ikun or in Kogian. But it's worth it to give a check on Josakowi.
Thanks. It's nice work. And if you have the more information, I really would like to know.
I think they have. I think they have a site. I will check and leave here in the chat.
Yeah, I think Amalia just posted in the chat some information.
About
exactly.
About
Chigoneshi, it's the collective. They used to be, or they're now Yosakowi. So he working on both, but he's the head. I think Shigoneshi is the name in Kogian.
Ah, okay. Okay. Great. It's nice talk. That nice thing. Maybe they can present for the journal that we need to finish by the 6th of September.
Wow, that's
very glad.
Are you writing in Spanish, in Portuguese, or in English?
Is it any language?
Okay, it's open.
The call is open. We're accepting works.
Yes.
Yes.
I will read Chamado.
Yes.
I send you the call. Okay, nearly 6 o'clock here, no? For you?
No, it's 10 to 5 as far as I know.
It's 10 to 6 for us, Renato.
For me.
For me as well, yeah.
For you too.
Janet, another question?
Yeah, I would love to know more about the different versions that you talked about and the attempt to reach a consensual version. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, yes, it's very interesting because it's the bits that I like so much to remember, because the version had different position of Nyampirikuli. Okay, Nyampirikuli is a kind of the demiurge of the Baniwa mythology, and sometimes the position is Nyampirikuli that touch the night and pick up the night and put the night in the basket. The other version is not Nyampirikuli, it's the other one. It's the brother is the brother. So there's some difference in terms of the position of the Nyampirikuli. You can see in different versions. Okay, I don't know all the 18 versions, but when I heard in terms of my notes of the field, is always the position of the Nyampirikuli. Okay, and the other difference in terms of the version is the position of the night. One version, the night is not sleeping when they come there to pick up the night. The other version, the night is sleeping. They needed to wake up the night to put the night inside the basket. Okay, that is a little bit different in terms of the version. No, the night was there and they put the night to go there. Okay, that's one thing that in terms of the difference. The other thing, also in terms of the position, in terms of to wake up the night, to be to be okay if she wants to go inside the basket. Said 3 times that Nyam Pirikuli needs to make some very strong, touch the night, to wake up the night. Mm. The other version, there is no this kind of thing, you know. So there is different position in terms of my conclusion. My way is the position of the actors or the personage that was important in the story, that they have different position in terms of the oral tradition story. Okay, and the other thing, the version, for example, because they needed to put you can see the film, you can see in the middle of the traveling, when they travel from the village of the night to take the night to the village that have no nights, they decided, because the night was very heavy, they decided to open the basket. The night go away. How they put the night inside again, they needed to have a very important music. And this kind of music needed to be performance. There is a very way how to perform this kind of music. It's not different way. So the first try, the second try, the third one try, and the other try. And when the last one try, and they put the night inside the basket. And they say, look, that was because in the night that that they take the night to put in the basket. The first time, everybody sleeps. But one was awake for whole night until they know how to put the night inside. You know, so there's all the difference. I don't know the 18 types of stories, but I know the difference that they told me, you know, and that I have my notebook in the field, my field book. I put some notes about the difference of the myths, but I don't make any comparison at all in the story. Maybe on one day, but it's not part of my work now. But it's really interesting to see the whole discussions about the position of the Nyampirikuli with the position of Kawa is very important in terms of the difference among the clans.
Did they have a discussion of correctness? Did that come up? A notion of correctness?
No. They say that the true one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. That is the hour is the true one.
Yeah.
That is the correct one. Is mine. The only thing is the point of view of the narrator.
In the similar sort of like how the collaboration worked, or kind of what potential disagreements had to be kind of pulled together, I was wondering further back before the actual storyline, in the making or designing or getting a project together, how getting a group of school teachers from different communities, how that worked, what types of buy-in. You had the kind of description of how everyone wanted to be there, everyone had something to say in the editing room, and these are kind of like beautiful moments that resonate with kind of my experience and with other people with cameras and during my research. Before that, there's, at least in my experience, a kind of a different process of proposing a sort of project like that, what it would entail, who might benefit from it, who's disinterested in that type of benefit. And so I was wondering how long or in what ways you kind of had this sort of group of school teachers come together to want to do the first film.
Sorry, say again. I can't listen to the last final sentence.
Just how you kind of came to have a group of school teachers from different communities want to do a film together, or like what that choice, what that project was, or why that seemed something that they wanted to put energy into?
Okay, you know, that one is a very nice question. That's important. I was professor in the course. Okay, that was is a degree, is a course of undergraduate course in intercultural course of the Federal University of the Amazonas. They needed to have a mark, okay? Okay, to have a mark, to have a nota. How would you say a nota?
A grade.
Grade, yeah.
Yeah, grade. So I was a professor. I have the way to put the note. And we decide which note you want to put. And we decide, look, we do a collective work and all together have the same grade, you know. And that was very interesting. And also they put together the efforts to do the film, to do the collaborative work. But there was to have the final product that was some kind of discussion, because among of them, if you see the list of the people that have been working with me, some of them, they don't like at all. But they, by the end, they start to have, but they don't want to be interpret. They don't want to be part of the story. They don't want to know the story of the myths. They don't want to do nothing, you know, because they are very, very, very evangelical, and that is not very good. That is the bad things for the. I have among the group. I have an art film that that was made for the same group. It's my YouTube channel. It's called Casamento Baniwa. Casamento Baniwa. They decide, a group for themselves, say, no, we would like to do about the Casamento Baniwa. If you go to see this film there, you see a lot of things. That's a kind of mix of is Baniwa, what's evangelical, what's not evangelical, what's Baniwa, you know? You can see how it's today. It's today. Today they are like this, you know? They are really impacted with the Sophia Miller doctrine, you know? That is they want to show this kind of discussion. When you are in the village like Tunui is evangelical, you know, and sometimes the Capitão came to me, Renato, I want you to come to stay with CIs, or to go to lunch with them in the evangelical church, and I went there to see, and it's part of the life. And they ask a lot of information. They ask a lot of things, you know. But it's part of the way how they live. You know? For me, was very difficult to touch any subject that means religion, because it's a very, very way. If they want to stay together and work together, this not to go in the subject. The subject is religion. They know how to live with this situation. And I need also to me adapt of this situation, because it's really difficult. It's really difficult. You can see some films that's made for them. Now, I saw a film from the FOIRNI that was organized by a journalist from Globo that went there, and she did a film. And you can see how this Baniwa, evangelical Baniwa, they put them together in this discussion in terms of how is the ethnicity, Banil ethnicity among the evangelical.
So FOHIN, the Indigenous Association, has an archive there where they are collecting these films?
Yes, they are. They are archive. Sometimes they have very good archive, but sometimes they lose. But now we start last year. 2019, we started a virtual museum in São Gabriel da Cachoeira that is coordinated by someone from FOIRN called Domingos Barreto. And next week we have the web page about this virtual museum. And the idea is to put all these things in this kind of virtual museum for everybody. We seek for money for that.
That's really interesting. And that'll be in Portuguese and what other languages?
Most of the language. If it's Tucano, Tucano. If it's Dessano, Dessano. And the films that was made by someone who come from outside is in Brazilian. But most of the time is subtitled in Brazilian. The film that they produce. And most of the film is kind of promotional film. We do that, we promotion some project that they want to have a promotion. This kind of film that I did is not part of the mainstream idea of the people, you know, the people who are working with the film. But they like this, the film about the fighting for our knowledge. There is a happy end. The happy end is our knowledge is the best one.
But I assume they'll be open to accepting future films. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that is a future film, you know?
Yeah.
The story is that they accept a lot. They like to do this kind of
But it's the Upper Rio Negro, correct?
Yes, Upper Rio Negro, yeah.
So the answer to the question could be something like 18 different languages.
Yes, more or less.
Yeah. Yeah.
Additional questions?
Just a thought on the funding, Renato.
Sorry?
Just a thought on the funding. One thing that happens particularly in the regions that you all work is that people are working in their language, which is different than the situation in, you know, the rest of the Americas. The decade between 2022 and 2032 has been declared by the UN as the decade of action for indigenous languages.
Yes, no.
2019, there was the year of indigenous languages, and I've never been busier than the year of indigenous languages because everybody thought about showing a film in an indigenous language. So in terms of like how you frame the project for funding, that might be a consideration.
That's great. That's nice to know.
Yeah.
And yes, it's great.
People feel more solidarity around preserving indigenous languages than they feel about protecting indigenous territories, right?
Yes,
exactly. They go hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Did you say that was the UN, Amalia?
The UN decade, because there's always a decade of something. And UNESCO created a portal for all of their kind of official events or officially sponsored events during the International Year of Indigenous Languages. Mm-hmm. So that's IYIL19. And then it'll come up. There was some bureaucracy, some hoops to jump through to get your event stamped and sanctioned. So I don't think it's a really representative demonstration of how much was done, but it was a substantial collaboration worldwide that really drew attention to this. And we already had a conference. I was there by the skin of my teeth in February in Mexico City. In the first meeting around lessons learned from the year of Indigenous languages so that we could coordinate for the launch of the decade.
Great.
Great, thank you.
I will knock your door to know more about.
No problem.
If you don't mind, would you send that info to all of us, to the listserv?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the page is, I'll find the page and I'll just drop it in the chat. But I do think that there was a level of officialdom that happened in that world that doesn't reflect all of the efforts. Because like I said, you had to be someone to get recognized by UNESCO, right?
Yeah.
And you had to fly yourself to Paris. They don't, UNESCO has no money, and the US has pulled out. Although they're still in office in DC. Right. There's still somebody with a job because it's still an international organization. Hopefully it's not forever.
Hopefully it's not even for more than half a year.
Great.
There you go.
I thought Jose had a hand up at one point, no?
Johnny.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Renato. Thank you so much.
All of you. And you can share this paper, but there are a lot of mistakes. Maybe you keep it, but not share so much because there are a lot of mistakes. Then, Elliot, you can send me later on the record of this tape, this talk, because I would like to improve myself. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Renato.
Obrigada.
Before we go, just to